Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Ratcliffe, for your service. Thank you for meeting with me. We had an excellent conversation about a number of our priorities on the committee, but mine specifically. Pandemic preparedness was one issue, AHIs, which Senator Collins covered very effectively, and sexual assault and harassment in the military. So I just want to address those so you can talk about them publicly. As we discussed, we need to do a much better job in detecting and preventing and knowing the intelligence to prepare for the next pandemic. We didn't have the type of collaboration we needed to prepare for COVID. We had disagreements about how COVID began, and we never really got resolution on that, which is a concern for me. But this idea of a One Health proposal is creating essentially a fusion center for the CIA, the NSA, the DOD, the Department of Agriculture, and HHS, so that you are in real time working collaboratively to detect this information. Because agriculture and science, they often share data and information, and we know with regard to the Wuhan lab that they were publishing data and information about the tests they were doing. The scientific community had access to that. The CIA, on the other hand, was looking into other intelligence. They might have been able to get the details about illnesses quicker than anyone else. But none of these groups were talking, so the data wasn't shared in a timely basis. And so we didn't really have the information we could have had if the CIA was talking to the medical community, the scientific community, and the agriculture community in terms of research. So I just want your commitment that you will work with me on this very important issue, because the CIA can play such a meaningful role in protecting our nation from such other threats, such as a pandemic or any use of a biological weapon or any use of that kind of harm to the United States.
Senator Gillibrand, I really did enjoy the chance to visit and talk about these issues. I agree completely. I do pledge to work with you on that. You know, we go back to one of the worst incidents in our nation's history, 9/11. It was a failure of communication. We had the intelligence, we just weren't sharing it with each other in a way that would prevent that. And you brought up COVID, and is the more recent example where maybe as many as 25 million people die worldwide, and at least 1 million Americans as a result of that. And one of the things when I came in as DNI, to your point, I was surprised at the lack of coordination between, for instance, the intelligence community and health agencies like the CDC and the NIH, and the ability the channels were not open to share information like you're talking about. So many of these things can be, if not prevented, mitigated quickly if we're communicating and sharing intelligence better. So I completely agree with the sentiment that you've expressed, and look forward to working with you to make sure that we're doing those things if I'm confirmed as CIA director.
Thank you. And I just want to associate myself with the comments of Senator Collins with regard to AHIs. I think it is essential, as I mentioned in our hearing, that you collaborate with the Department of Defense, with their intelligence agencies, to understand what the nature of these effects are, what causes them, and what type of adversaries could be using technology in a way to actually harm our service members. So I just really appreciate that you will commit to delving deep into this issue and really try to limit the siloing of information between CIA and DOD on this very topic.
I will. I look forward to it. You know, CIA is the premier intelligence agency in the world, and I'm not saying that it should always be able to make an assessment about cause, but over time, that's typically something that we should expect and in some cases demand. And, you know, for instance, COVID, you brought up that's one issue, but AHI is another one. I'm curious and look forward to reading the classified version of the AHI in terms of the assessments that were made or the inability to make an assessment on causation. And if I'm not satisfied, we'll continue to look at that.
And my last question, obviously the scourge of sexual assault is problematic in every area of society. We want to make sure that the CIA is a safe place to work and that people who are being harassed or assaulted can come forward and demand justice. I just ask your commitment that you'll work with this committee to make sure all of our members of this community can work in a safe environment.
I will, Senator. I appreciate your leadership on this issue. I know it's been something you've highlighted, and as we talked about in our meeting, over the course of my career, I'm grateful for what my record reflects in leadership positions I've had and organizations I've had in terms of not tolerating sexual assault and sexual abuse. When I was U.S. Attorney, when I was DNI, when I was in Congress, all of those. And so I make that pledge to you gratefully.